When it's quiet like it is today, it's like being in heaven. It's just so wonderful. And at that point, I begin to see that maybe I've done something here. It may not look that way at the very beginning, but it turns out that that's it. The absolute joy that I get from that, I complain a lot now about the pain that I keep feeling. When I do something and I say, this is really something, I mean, all that pain goes away. It's miraculous. It just simply leaves me. Art is therapeutic. Art is so many different things. You can be happy, you can be free of pain, and have this sense of joy all the time. It's I think one of the great glories of art. An artist that most people have probably never heard of. His name is Alexei von Jawlensky. He said, art is God made visible. Our idea of God, usually it's not the one that you read in the catechism or in shul. It's only a phrase to describe this feeling that one gets. But it's something that we all have, that we 99 times out of 100, we let go and don't use it. But it's an important part. And to try to understand it, they do it through art.
I don't remember how I first met Hank. I think I've been on this floor almost 20 years. I saw Hank walking the halls. I think I said something once and he imitated me. I think that's when I realized this guy's got a great sense of humor. Who is he?
I first met Hank when the two of us moved into studios on the 4th floor. That, by the way, was 30 years ago. So we started talking about art then, and we're still talking about art.
This was 46 years ago. I was 15 years old, and my father had a studio in the building. As a teenager, you become sensitive to the fact that adults don't really care what you think. But Hank cared what I thought.
I first met Hank in his work in 1979, maybe. Small show of his work and my father's. I'd seen lots of artists' work in galleries that my father was represented by, and wasn't taken with hardly any of them. And this guy, his work was just enchanting. Then I met him, and he was sweet, unassuming. I didn't know what to make of him. The only thing I knew was that I loved what I saw.
I was carrying out some dead flowers, and one of those fell on the floor out in the hall. He looked at that and he said, well, I guess you've been deflowered. So I didn't know what to think after that. He has the best work ethic of any human being I've ever come across. He works a solid 5 days a week. He works a 3/4 day on Saturday, and he takes off on Sunday. And this is the religious schedule that he keeps.
The bottom line is that Hank is the real deal. Hank is a real working, living artist. Hank has just a perfect storm of wonderful creativity, a fantastic eye, and a unique and really genuine personality.
Now, I just want to show you something. Now this, it may not look like much, but this to me, I think, which if I continue doing it like this, is getting the sense of a person through a spontaneous gesture. I like that. I like that a lot. I come in every day in the hopes of making a discovery. And the discoveries inevitably are things that I see out of the corner of my eyes. Some little thing that I didn't realize I was doing it, and there it was, and that it opens another brand new avenue. I try sometimes to remember the thought I had when I actually did this. You get the gesture of the person that looks like the person, feels like the person, through a spontaneous gesture. That's it. I like that. Well, I'm getting? This is terrible. I'm getting, what is this? I can't see anymore. This is raw umber. Well, it doesn't look like raw umber, but maybe it is. But this stuff has gotten to be very expensive. You used to get tubes like this for about $1.25. Now they're $8, $9. And it's not even the best ones. Every so often, what I do in the subway is I sit down on the Canal Street station and I watch people come by. I try to make a quick gesture. All I have is about 3.5 to 4 seconds. Almost always I make mistakes. And the mistakes are that I'll try to remember what I saw before and sort of correct, if that's the correct word, the little sketch that I did. That's a mistake. I want to get an absolute gesture of 3 seconds or less. When it's such a short period of time, I think that's how we all really look. This is how we see. They just see a semblance of it, a feeling of it. The main thing I would like to get is the whole action in just 1 or 2 or 3 lines. All right, let me see. Let me do one of these here. Now, what I've decided that I should do first is give a tone to the whole thing, and to stay away from trying to make something of it, except like in just black and white. This is not bad. Not great, but it's not bad. Now, everything I do is intuitive. I try not to really think about it. I want it to be this, a feeling of something, not an absolute something. See, that's that. This is this. This is straight. The hair is like there, and this is there. That's not bad. This thing was not, it's not accurate, but there's a feeling of something. Certainly there's a feeling, to me anyway, there's a feeling of moving forward. Now this is all the first stage of what I'm doing, and then I'll put some color on, and sometimes I get some good results, All right, that's about it for this thing here. When I get around to, I'll work some more on it, and we'll see if my idea that I had, that it works out. And if it doesn't work out, there's always tomorrow when we can do something else. I think what's very important, what made me what I am like today. The beginnings are important, but I was never really aware that I was doing anything. But here's what happened.
Hank was born in Brooklyn on October 24th, 1929. He was the son of 2 Italian immigrants, his mother working in sweatshops and his father working as a dress cutter and a projectionist in movie houses.
When we lived in Bushwick, Sunday afternoons, it would be terrific. It was always quiet. There were hardly any cars even going by. Sometimes I would just sit on the stoop on a hot summer afternoon, and the heat, the sun would beat down on my head. It was like being in the presence of God. I felt good. I couldn't quite understand why that was. But I see now that I was a part of something that was important. I couldn't say what it was. I didn't know what it was. But I know that made an impression on me that has lasted up until this day.
Hank served in the Army with his brother Joe, both as photographers. After they returned from overseas in 1952, Hank became a reference photographer for a company that produced cover artwork for pulp fiction books. Sometimes he appeared in those photos for other artists. Eventually, he stopped taking photos and started doing his own illustrations.
Hank starts out as an illustrator of pulp fiction books, and his earliest work is very representational and very accurate, I guess you'd call it.
In those days, it was different. They wanted, if it was a Bunsen burner, they wanted to see that it was a real Bunsen burner, and it was very accurate. Again, the word that I abhorred, you know.
Hank got his studio in Union Square in 1960, which at the time was the epicenter of the modern art world. Among his neighbors were Andy Warhol, Isabel Bishop, Marshall Gorky, Jack Levine, the Sawyer brothers, and Joseph Solman.
It was a room about half the size of this room, and it was $30 a month, $30 or $35 a month, you know. Don't ask me what I'm paying now, because it's ridiculous. And I quit the job that I had, and I proceeded to try to make a life out of this.
During his time, he produced illustrations and political satire etchings for books and magazines, including the New York Times, Harper's, and Fortune magazine. He won the gold medal from the Society of Illustrators, and just as his professional career was starting to pick up, he left it all behind to pursue something different.
I want to do what I want to do, and I just decided I would start doing artwork. And I continued and became who I am today.
Is this recent?
What?
This one here?
No, that's kind of.
That's old? I don't remember ever seeing one quite like this.
Well, you haven't seen.
I haven't seen everything, I know.
Not everything, but you've hardly seen anything, tell you the truth. That thing that I sent you, remember I sent you something, and you said, well, yeah, but you know, that sort of opened my eyes to something.
Which was what? No, I didn't get that.
Well, that last thing that I said, and it woke me up to some degree.
To what?
Well, to say, you know, I've got, you know, when I do these subway things, you know, I have hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yeah, no, even I have seen hundreds of them.
For a couple of years now, I've been saying, well, I got all these things, you know, Jesus Christ, and every day I'm doing them, you know.
Right.
So I gotta finish them. And then one day, as I was going through, you know, this large barrage of stuff that I have, I'm looking at them. These drawings are finished, but they're not. I don't mean that they're good drawings, but they're finished work. This tells the story. These things that I've done are really are it.
So when you say they've captured it, what do you mean?
Got to absolutely feel something strongly within yourself, you know, to want to do that person's face.
What do you feel?
A connection. It sounds silly, but that's what it is. You know, what in my life has brought me to this moment when I see that face or figure or whatever the hell it is, and it makes something happen within me. You know, I feel good about it. You know, I like it. Boy, that's real.
It isn't how they're clothed that matters.
You know, it's just them. You know, and I think I got that.
I've been really fortunate because I've not only had the advantage of talking to him about ideas, but I've gotten to observe how he does his work. Many things have remained the same. He is an observer of life. He walks around, he sees people, he notices the way they stand and sit and move and what they have on, their whole attitude. That is, I think, where his art has always come from, and it still does.
Many people have one personality for their work and another personality that they show the world. I think his artwork is flavored by his personality. No matter what series he's working on, it definitely comes out of his mind and his unique way of thinking.
When you see his work, you see him. There is no disconnect. You see his hand, you see his eye, you experience that moment. in a way that is unique.
With Hank, it's just that wonderful, elegant simplicity where you can do so much with so little.
But he still works in multiple mediums, from collage to watercolor to drawing to painting. I particularly love his still lifes.
So those of us who have collected Hank's work over the years, because we love it so much, have lots of bottles and more than a few matchboxes and that one cup. We've got the cup in several of its incarnations here in the house.
The interesting thing about his still life is it's a lot like the figures. They have a lot of life in them.
He really brings to life the bottles and cans and objects. There is something divine about everything he paints. He's fascinated almost with the spiritual wealth of everything because of how they hold and reflect light.
But they're all evocative, and they're all compelling, and they all have a feeling that you don't see or feel in so much work nowadays.
Don't think, feel. And I think that is basically the key to his artwork. He is trying to put out with paper and paint and pen what he is feeling, what is meaningful to him.
He just has this urge to create, this need to create something beautiful.
Hank just makes piles of things, stacks. Happiness for Hank is having a big stack of drawings to work on.
Hank is the kind of artist who makes what he sees. And one of the things that I really admire about Hank is he does those wonderful subway sketches.
It seems to me that his commute is a huge part of his artistic process.
He would have loose paper, and every time he goes to the subway, he would draw people sitting across from him. To this day, he still is continuing to draw these subway people.
I started doing a series in 1983, and I did them primarily because I always had trouble hiring a model. How to pose her? What should they do, you know? I was never really at ease doing that. Until one day, I noticed when I was in the subway, I was looking at the people, and I said, well, now, wait a minute. Look at all these models I have here. And I don't have to ask them to pose this way or that way. They were who they were. And I could just look around, and if one didn't please me, the way they were sitting or standing or whatever, I'd just move on to somebody else. I was getting sketches of people in their natural habitat.
Hank likes to do them fast to capture something about the person. He's capturing a person and a moment in their life, and that's precious to him.
The life force of his subject he seems to capture quite quickly. How did he see that? How did he know that about that person? How could he pick up so much from a person sitting across the aisle on the subway?
It is all spontaneous with him. It's all of the moment. He is illustrating a moment.
His belief in humanity always seems to be the driving force. You know, his love of humanity, his empathy. His work really amounted to not just art, but I think it was also about love, really. And I think that has always been a driving force for Hank.
I did several hundred of them. Most of the people in this were the new immigrants. These are the people who are changing life in New York City. If you read the newspapers, there's a great debate going on that should they send them back, should they get rid of them. Nobody can tell me that they don't want them because they're the source that have always made this country great. My feelings are that has always been the case. There was always the people who would do the dirty work to build up the other people. The first emergence of the new immigrants, they displaced some of the people who were here before. And those people began to come to my neighborhood, which when we first moved there, it was mostly Germans and Italians. But when we saw these other faces, we thought, oh, this is going to be bad. One day, when I saw these new faces and worried a bit about them, I said, now wait a minute, what are these people doing? Well, they're going to work. And then later in the day, I saw them again. I said, well, what are these people doing? Well, they're going home after work, you know. And I said, well, isn't that what my mother and father did when they first came here? They're doing what these people are doing. So it eased my mind. And for that reason, I think those people should be honored in some way, you know. And maybe that was my way of honoring them. Oh. This walk home that I'm doing now, a couple of years ago, it used to take me 10 to 12, 13 minutes, you know. Now it takes me at least a half hour and frequently 45 minutes. And as I'm walking this way now, we're hardly there, it might even take an hour. But that's the story of my life. That's fairly new. And I think what it is the call to prayers. Or I guess the Muslim, or whatever they call them, does that. The call to evening prayers.
Hank has lived in Woodhaven since 1954. He moved there with Joe and Joe's wife Sue, who he met in Germany during his time in the Army. I've been to Hank's home in Woodhaven a number of times over the years. I had occasion to pick Hank up in the city and drive him out to Woodhaven. Hank's neighborhood, Woodhaven, is a very, very rich melting pot neighborhood. It doesn't seem like an artist's enclave. It's a neighborhood. I'll never forget, we brought him home, we go in the house and go up the stairs, and even though I've seen his apartment before, it just struck me somehow as in this house, in Woodhaven, in this neighborhood in Queens, New York, is beautiful artwork lining the walls, like really museum quality work, tucked away in Woodhaven. It was quite remarkable. It made a big impression on me.
I love the smell of freshly dried clothes outdoors. I don't want people to think that I was an absolute loner. I didn't mind being alone. It gave me a chance to think, you know. And when I was young, when I was in high school, I guess in the early days of high school, I was thinking, I thinking about being a priest. And the thing that led me to that was the idea of having a small room of my own. I've seen pictures of Italy and the monasteries. To have a room like that, just like a cot, a little dresser maybe, where you have what little clothes you could have, and a nice light coming through. I just absolutely feel at peace in this room. Through this window, when I'm standing here, is the light that I think I get in some of these. If you stay with this for a while, not only do you see subtle, very subtle colors, it's like the light that's coming in through both these windows, as a matter of fact, I just like the ambiance of this room. 7, 8, 9 years ago, I sort of got away from that. And my work, I think, suffered. It suffered because I wasn't getting that intimacy, the simplicity of feeling something and feeling calm and really liking how I felt. I just felt so good about how some of these simple things affected me, and I would like other people to feel that. People who have been to my studio many times over a long period of time will see it and say, hey, how come you never showed me that before? I said, you've seen that 10, 15 times, but you've finally seen it, not only with your eyes, but with your heart, And I think that great art has that. Monday and Tuesday, I looked at the doctor. I'm telling you, it set me back several years.
The normal checkup?
My cancer died, So he said your PSA had gone up, suddenly spiked. PSA is prostate-specific antigens. They latch on to the cancers, So, and those can be measured. So when it's like 0, or that doesn't mean there's no more cancer there. Which never happens really. This time it sort of spiked because this is the period they call watchful waiting. So every 3 months I would get a PSA test, and it started out with less than 1. But then each time I went there, we'd go up a little bit and then a little bit. Well, this thing went up about 3 times since the last time, So he recommended that we'll wait another 3 months and take another PSA and we'll see if it stays there and go up. Then we have to start the treatment. When I found out that I had cancer, at first it was just a terrifying thing. I remember I would call somebody to let them know, and I would break down in tears. I would start to cry. I did think this is really bad, and it could be like final. It took me a while to say, well, if it's so bad and I'm not going to be here so much longer, whatever I want to do, I had better do it now.
But I remember when Hank first told me that he'd been diagnosed with prostate cancer, I couldn't tell if he was as disturbed by it as I was. But there was no question that he was going to press on with what he was doing.
I've seen Hank's health deteriorate. His walking has become worse. The last few years he's fallen on subways.
I see the decline that you see in both my parents. He's old and he's getting older.
By the way, he is next door to me. You will hear him moving around. I listen for him. I'm pleased when I do hear him shuffling in there. I'm really concerned if I hear a big bang, then I'm just sit here attentive, waiting for something else to move, so I'm just sure he's all right. In spite of an obviously tortured way of getting around, he does it. He's got courage.
For a man of his advanced age and his challenges getting around, it's astonishing to me that he rides the train for as long as he does.
You know, it takes him an hour and a half to 2 hours to get here each way from Queens. But he's determined to get here to do his work because this is his mission in life.
His physical health, he has challenges, but his vitality, miraculously, has not waned at all.
Everybody, I think, probably has great ideas about what a painter should be doing with their life as they get older. But I think what Hank should be doing is coming to a studio every day, like he always has.
You could see that it gives him energy. He loves life in a way that, I wish everybody did.
Nothing is going to deter him. Nothing has deterred him from devoting himself to his craft and his discoveries.
People have asked me, is that the reason why you're working harder now than you did before? They see how I walk, and I still come in 6 days a week. I come to this room. They wonder why, and I say, well, because it's important to me. It sustains me. Otherwise, I won't do it. It'll never materialize ever. So my life will be wasted. And sometimes now I think, I think maybe it's about time to let it go because I'm tired, But that doesn't last very long. One day, this woman comes in and she's ranting, carrying a Bible or something, with one hand, and she's to God, Jesus Christ, and coming together. When I came back, I said, try to put that down, because that's. Oh, he's here already, We'll have to do this another time because we have a new visitor. I got a call from Bernadette. She loves animals. She's a part of ASPCA. I was wondering, did you ever do anything with dogs in them? Because we're raising money. A little while after she left, I said, wait a minute. I have done something with a dog in it, but it's satirical. A dog with a military person, and the dog is peeing on the guy's shoes. So subterfuge about the military. There's a couple other things that are happening. I think I've finally come to the place where I think I know what art is about, really, and that I can do something about it before I fall into the very, the unknown. All right, get out. But if you're going to get anybody to come in, let it be a young lady or something. All right, take care, Matt. this or that.
Well, what strikes me most about Hank is his vulnerability. Hank has this fascinating blend of being quite self-assured. He knows what he's doing, but at the same time, there's this element of doubt and questioning himself all of the time, and it gives him a sort of trepidatious way that he deals with people, and I suspect that is echoed in how he deals with his subjects.
For him, doing the drawings, being connected, all of that, the drawings are done from life. The line is the connection. And for him, art and life are the same. So it's like it's just this continuum. It's all the same. It's not one or the other.
Ultimately, it's his artwork that is his passion. It's his life source. If he doesn't get here to do his artwork, he's not doing well. Once he gets to the studio and starts to do his work, everything changes.
He's a person who has survived the highs and lows for so many years. I think people often take for granted how difficult it is to live in that way. It is your job to lay oneself bare and let yourself be rattled by life, and yet have the fortitude to not only go on living, but go on persevering in a very difficult career.
And what we do is pretty simple as artists. People think we do maybe something else, get famous and go to openings a lot, but what you really do is you sit at your table and you do the work. That's what it means. That's basically when he feels the best, I think, when he has a chance to do the work.
I've known a lot of artists in my life. I was brought up around them. If there's a commonality to them, it's that they have a drive to do something that is not going to be deterred by what anybody else thinks, by the impediments that are put in their path. It's a calling. I mean, it's like people who are preachers. The German term is Beruf. You know, you're called by God to spread the word. I think for true artists, people who completely devote their lives to their art, it's the same thing.
The thing that's most concerning is that he would get to the point where he couldn't get here anymore, because I know what that would mean to him. It's essential to be able to do the work. And as long as he can do that, I think he'll be okay.
The place is so crowded, you know, but we'll have to do this again, because this, I liked it. I like doing this. I'm trying to think of, there's a excerpt from Shakespeare that might be helpful. The dreams come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil. No, that's not it. I know that's part of it. I've talked amongst my friends about the dreams that they have, and there's one dream that we've all seemed to have had, and I think we all came to a similar conclusion, that we dream being in someone else's studio, and there's these paintings that are around, you know. And we all admire them and say, there's something really good here, you know. But I can't understand whose studio we're in. It turns out, by popular consensus, that it's our work that's up on the walls. I don't think I've ever done anything according to a dream that I had. Dreams are not something that are outside of ourselves. The only thing you can dream about, I believe, is the experiences you've had in waking hours. The influence that are imposed on it are not from my dreams, but from actual things that happen. The things we see out of the corner of our eyes are the things that are most important, you know. What dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. And then they also assigned me to a room. And en route there, I met this middle-aged woman there, and we struck up a conversation. And I was saying things about things that we have talked about. She said, well, my life has been something like that, about doing what you really, truly want to do. And I said, that's the thing of success, really. Not monetarily, perhaps, but, but you, for yourself, So now it all depends upon the therapist. And if she says she feels it's okay that I can do what I have to do without, flying to the moon, it's all right with her. It's true. All right, listen, we'll talk about that too when next we meet on the village green. Okay. All right, good night to you and to the lovely Yvonne. Okay, so it was a Sunday morning, about 2 o'clock. I had to go to the bathroom. So I threw off the covers, got up, and as I got to the edge of the bed, I suddenly was overcome with this feeling of what's the one I'm trying to think of, which is I'm always trying to think of, dizziness. It was more than dizziness. The room began to reel, but not going around this way like a carousel. It was going like this, and it was so intense that I didn't pass out. But I had absolutely no control over my emotions, and I fell really back. It's not a setback. It's an additional source of information. This is all information that adds to your ability to relate to things that you didn't relate to earlier. And that's how I see most of my experiences in life. Art and life are really one. There's no difference between experiencing life and experiencing art. What has this object, what has it done? It has been judged by the same thing that I sometimes judge myself with, and that is to age. Watercolor, after a while it will fade. Sometimes the fading is really quite lovely, quite beautiful, Age at the, if you try to utilize it in a good way, it makes you understand life better. That's it. Because art is my heart. End of quotation.
So how do you explain the fact that you and I and my wife and my father, who saw more art probably than any of us, lived to 99 after all, how do you explain that we all think that your work is as beautiful as anything we've ever seen, and you are as relatively obscure as you are? How do you explain it?
Well, I think one thing is that, first of all, I can't think of myself as being, good. I always got to be this. I got to work on it more. I got to get it more. I got to do it. I never spoke up. Somebody said, that's no good, or what are you doing, or something like that. And I just let it go. I said, I'm not going to get involved because it's going to waste time. Time is the only thing that you can't buy, you can't get back.
But it's not as if you didn't promote yourself. Plenty of great artists lack confidence in the greatness of their work. It's just a set of historical accidents that winds up with things as they are, as opposed to how they might be.
I don't know why people aren't beating his doors down to see his work or to purchase it or collect it.
The art world is completely different from what making art or producing art or being an artist is about.
If you've got the right, interesting, colorful background, or you're very young and you've got a backstory, you can get your work seen. And he's none of those things.
He's not a self-promoter in this day of horn blowing and social media.
promoting and selling your art is a entirely different profession, which takes up a tremendous amount of time and a tremendous amount of energy.
He's not so self-involved, you know, that the way that so many people are, you know.
The bottom line is he doesn't care what anyone else thinks. He's doing his artwork for himself. That's really all Hank cares about.
What's going on today really doesn't suit Hank. It's more PR and less talent.
So many wonderful, serious, dedicated artists who've devoted their entire adult life to working, creating, very often do not find maybe the kind of success that Hank was looking for, or recognition, until after they die. I mean, that is just, that's just how it goes.
Because I got all this stuff there. Well, you know, if it's not out there, what does it mean? You know.
So beautiful. Thank you so much.
But I'm glad that it's out there. You know, otherwise it's just something in a drawer doesn't mean anything anymore. You know.
Yes, this will be up on the wall, and this will be, and we at least will see it. We should have more company. The Pears, the Inkwell.
That's why they don't have the thing.
These guys I know very well.
Yeah.
These are personal friends of mine.
It's not about selling them. It can't be that. It just absolutely can't be that.
I think it's a heavy choice to walk this road that Hank has walked his whole life. And I think it's been a conscious walk for him. He's invested in the work for the work's sake.
As long as Hank is up there, producing all this wonderful stuff, it will be only after he is unable to produce that stuff that he will probably be discovered or recognized, in the way that he had hoped he would be for so many years.
When I go over there and he starts to open those flat files, I am just in awe of the body of work that is sitting over there. It's incredible, and it deserves to be seen.
No, put that on. No, I guess it is this drawer. No, that's not it. Just as long as. One of the artists that I greatly admire, Giorgio Morandi, and he spent a good part of his life just doing little still lifes. When I first saw his work, I exclaimed, I mean, there's something here that I feel very right about. It didn't take me too long to realize that I was never be able to paint the way he did. But I did want to at least get what I felt was the important part of his work. The best way I can explain it is like being quiet, letting the subject matter bring about a sense of peace. So I started doing things, and I came upon what I think was my way of emulating that to bring someone to a place where you would stop and think. Now today the world is filled with noise, and we have very little time to be quiet and think and feel. That's the big thing, because his things always felt well. This model, she's a friend of mine. She used to be in the building here too for a long time, and the rents got too high, so she left. From my own perspective, I've never done a bad drawing or a bad painting of her. And here we have another one I'll tell you what, her name is Bernice. She loved to pose. There's a story behind this one, but it's too long. I'm not going to bother you with that, you know. And here we are. Here she is again. This is, you know, she was in the buildings. Anytime she came by, she would drop in, and I would do a drawing of her or drawings. I love the idea of working on corrugated cardboard. What can I tell you? Sue me, but that's what I love to do, you know. And people who've seen it really like it, and maybe one of these days I'll sell it. Here's another one from that same era. Now, from there, I graduated quite a bit years later of doing collage, the same objects, you know. I just used to always use one object. Sometimes you have to stare at them for a little bit to get what's going on, but that's an integral part of me. I want people to get up close. I want people to observe little accidents or just little bits and pieces that do something. I mean, that's important, you know. This is not bad. This is not bad. I never had like a lot of friends at one time. I always had like one or two friends that became close friends, you know. As for girls, quite frankly, they scared me. In time, I got over that part of it, you know. It's just that at the beginning, I don't know that I want to be responsible for someone else's life. My art had pretty much firmly taken over, you know. The more I did it, the more I wanted to do it, you know. So I never really wanted to get that serious, you know. And that's pretty much why I didn't get married. I need solitude. I need a lot of solitude. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean I'm gonna, you know, move to a cave, but I enjoy. I think, and in thinking, my mind goes into directions that, in a different way, would have been taken up, say, with family matters. And here I am, in front of a camera, divulging my soul. We don't need much more than this. Why can't other things be part of a still life rather than the usual thing of a cloth with a banana and an apple and a couple of pears? One of the things that I did after I got out of the Army, I would go see shows. I would see like Walter Murch and others, and I was affected by them. So I would go down to Canal Street. Now, Canal Street in those days, they had these, you know, old department stores, what they were, and they had tons and tons of works of things, interesting little gadgets and trinkets. So I would get them, and I'd take them out, and they would be my props for my still life. And the feeling that I had was quiet, the very, very peaceful feeling that you get. That part of it to me was very important because it was peaceful. It felt like if life could always be like that, boy, that would really be heaven on earth. Little tin cans like that. I get like that, you know, it's wow. Something allied to this is something that I say frequently. You'll hear it again and again, you know. The things you see out of the corner of your eyes are the things that are most important. Because there were things that I've looked at for maybe years, Well, it's just a piece of something that's around, something that's in the corner of your viewing. Things like that are everywhere. It's all around us. The beauty that feeds us. They feed you, and more importantly, they nourish you. These little things that are around. And if you just poke around a little bit and you show them something, they're going to get a semblance of it. They're going to understand it. Being moved by, again, things that I see out of the corner of my eyes, you know? Out of the corner of my eyes, I see some of these things, and I see them in a certain way. And maybe that's, you know, that's how I come up with things that become, I shouldn't say do become, but can become extraordinary.
I will venture a guess that his having the studio is the most important thing to him. He needs the studio, and he will find a way to have the studio.
He has to be able to come in every day, and if he couldn't come in, I don't know what he'd do.
Hank has been in this building since the 60s. When I came here in the early 80s, this building was 75%, or maybe even 80%, were people who were in the creative fields, mostly artists, painters. Over the years, rents have gone up, people have left.
That studio is crucial to him because he's made it crucial. This is the little environment that he's chosen to explore in all its nuances and all the accidents that happen. Without that studio, he's a different person. It's a different artist.
When Hank is down here, he comes alive. Everything in his life is here, and in the studio is old paintings, is current work. He's always thinking about future projects. I don't think I've ever met anyone who is that connected with what he creates and how necessary it is for him to create in order to live and breathe. If Hank would get to a point where he's immobile or unable to come down to the studio, I'm sure that it would have a dramatic effect on his life.
A lot of people keep saying, oh, listen, you got to be careful, you got to be this, you got to be that, and they're perfectly right, because I've fallen just recently twice. When I tell this story to friends, they say, listen, you got to start doing this a different way, I said, you got to stop. Well, I said, if I have to stop, I have to kill myself, because this is me. I spent my entire adult life trying to figure out, why am I doing this? What does this mean? And what does it mean to me? And I discovered it means everything to me. It is me. I will try as long as I can to get to my studio. I've come to a point in my work where I think that I know what I have to do. I know that I'm doing it, I would hate to start not doing that.
I do worry. I think, he has his ups and downs. The studio is his life.
You can hear when you speak to him, he changes when he's talking about, I have to get down there, I have to do some work, because he's anxious. And once he gets here, he's relaxed and re-energized and so much happier.
I wondered to myself, what's the best for Hank at this moment? I somehow keep coming back to the idea that the best thing at the moment for Hank is to get up in the morning, get on that subway, get into the studio and paint.
There's got to be a way where he can continue.
This is his religion. It's what he has to do to live. He has to come here and do this work.
Whatever he needs to do to get there, I hope he's able to.
And I've never met anyone quite like Hank.
I have gotten a great deal of personal love for what I'm doing day to day. That's the only story I can tell you. I don't want to dwell on it and make you feel bad, but that's what it's all about. Whatever the next day brings, I will cope with it somehow or other, And there are things that are going to change soon. I mean, anyway, you have to even get out of this house, because we're all reaching that age where, well, we know. I don't want to talk about it too much because I think about it enough. That's my story. Nobody said it was going to be easy, you know, and I do the best I can.
And there are collage and drawings and oil paints. This is almost all collage. And it's not. Are you kidding me?
This one is very attractive to me. I'm just so curious about the gesture. This deep, deep blue is just fabulous. They all feel like the figures are about to speak or say something or tell us something. This is very, very nice.
Beautiful work, absolutely fantastic. All the more interesting when you learn that the subjects are actually subway riders. I feel like I've seen them on the subway before. You get to know better.
New York.
Yes.
Interesting guy.
You relate to it. It touches you, you know, and I like it a lot. But I wasn't familiar with his work before. It just hits you. That's what art's good, when it hits you. Come in here. This is Paul Davis. Paul, come in here too. Are you familiar with his work before? No. Well, this is Paul Davis, and Paul is the other member of the show here. So I asked who he is, you know, and he said he was an illustrator, stopped working and went into fine arts.
All of them have a lot of emotional quality. In this one, the two women are holding hands, and it's just very touching. He's really expert at the way that he puts his pictures together. The way he gets this kind of flatness with a kind of form, it's very beautiful.
Coming in here not knowing anything about this artist, I was drawn to them immediately. Any of these would make for interesting book covers. They have a lot of personality, probably some of the pieces like that. That would be a really interesting one to use because it's from the back and you could sort of project who that is onto the reader.
I've never seen his stuff.
It's wonderful. Wonderful work.
Beautiful. It's amazing how much comes through in these little things.
These two are superb.
Okay.
I think they're superb.
All right. We'll get him. So we're going to get the two ladies.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to have this guy. Okay, now this or this? This? Okay.
Oh, sure. All right. I know. Yeah. Wow.
The greatest thing about Hank is that he never ever felt that he had come to the finality of being in a place. Every single time I would come to see him, he said, "I'm really onto something that's a breakthrough now." And this is decade after decade. It was always this open-ended search for the thing that he would suddenly realize, now I'm on top of what it is I've been searching for.
I think it was Titian who said when he was 82 or 3 that he felt he was just beginning to learn something about art. It's a quest. You can't put it down. Once the bug has got you, you're in it for life.
Hank always talks about, even if you have an idea, you have to start, even if you don't know where you're going, because you're going to find out where you're going along the way once you start. Just start doing something, and it'll come to you why you're doing what you're doing, and you'll have an understanding of why you're doing it and what the focus is. He'll have a starting point. He's not sure where it's going to go, but that's part of the excitement of doing it. That's part of the adventure.
He's never sat on his laurels. He's always rediscovering, digging deeper and going further, and never being quite happy about staying in one place.
I really can't envision Hank putting down his pens, brushes, paints, inks, whatever, and just giving up his work. It's such an integral part of his being that you just can't do it.
He's living the life, a very enviable life, where he's doing exactly what he wants and following that path and hasn't veered from it.
I think that time is very important. It has always been important to me, and I think it's very important in a piece of work. How can I get the idea of time in my work? A particular work that I have, something that I did 10 years ago, I did something that I think I incorporated time in it by showing the semi-destructive things that happen not only to my artwork, but to things in life generally. I took something that at one point had been a well-done piece of work, and now time has taken its toll on it, you know? For somebody who taught himself how to do this, I think it's kind of an accomplishment that I've done what I've done, you know? And at the moment now, it has taught me that the importance of believing in yourself. It always took later on, with the passage of time, to show that yes, you did that. You have to believe in yourself and say, I'm doing it this way. In time, other people will recognize it, hopefully, you know. Just recently, my lease came up. You know, I'm now 87 years old. It's pretty difficult, you know, for me to come in every day. And I said, you know, here I am, 87 years old. Business, if you want to call it that, is not so great. But at the same time, I made what I said before, this discovery. And I've made discoveries that seem to me are quite important. So I said, what I'll do is I'll take another lease for 2 years. If I'm still around when that's over, I think I would have to stop. But I mean, but I'll never stop. I'm hoping that I'll be either here or at home on a table, and I'm making a drawing. In the middle of the drawing, I'll say, "Oh, goodbye." Boom. It's all over, you know. And then, unless things get a little better, it's going to be, as it always has been, a lot of sacrifices. But I'm continuing, and I will continue until that moment when I absolutely can't. For the moment, I'll still be here for another two years. So with that, I say thank you, and if you have a chance, come by and see what my discovery was, you know, and see what I've done here from 1960 till now.
Hank talked about finding it in his artwork. What is it? I have no idea. Has he found it? I don't know, but he certainly found something, has kept finding something that I wouldn't have a better word for than it.
He always says that, I'm looking for it, and I said, Hank, you found it. You have found it. Don't you realize it? You have pursued your passion. You've got the studio, you make your own hours. You found it, you've got it, you've done it.
I don't know if it's an answer. I don't know if it's a discovery or a revelation. Maybe he doesn't know what it is. And part of me, I guess, hopes that maybe he won't find it, or he'll still keep looking. He'll keep looking for it. I think that's part of the adventure, and part of what keeps him going.
If you get to spend pretty much every day of your life doing what you love, you've certainly been a success, because that is like hard to do. I mean, most people never even get close to that. He can keep finding things in the work and keep pushing it and keep exploring. It's just the enthusiasm to come in and just start again and make a whole new pile of work. I think in that sense, he's found it in his life, and you find it in your work. But you're always looking, always.
He will be discovered, you know, by the world at large. He's a national treasure in my mind.
Life will go on in the days or years that Hank is not here, but it won't be the same. It won't have Hank Virgona.
I'll always remember Hank as being one of these unique, special human beings, the likes of which are hardly ever seen anymore.
I know that many people have pursued this path. And I think it's important that there's a reason for life. They use all kinds of reasoning for that, but I would like some people to try to go further than anything I've said and anything that any other people have said. I know for myself, I've shown it. I've shown things that are, you know, little things that you pass by and say, what the hell is that? Well, there's great beauty to that. There's some meaning to all this life, what we call life, you know? And I think I'd be better off pursuing that. That's what I would like to leave behind, you know? And if I don't, well, you know, I tried.